Hello, dear friends. Today we will talk about ways to improve memory. If you have found out the reasons why memory can deteriorate, then you have already guessed what exactly can help you. But it would not be superfluous to list the ways to improve memory that professionals recommend. So, how to improve your memory? Eat less sugar. Scientists have proven that sugar abuse affects memory impairment. An experiment was conducted with rats. They were fed foods with a high sugar content. Experience has shown that the rats decreased emotional arousal and had problems with memory. Experiments with human participation have also proved that increased sugar consumption leads to a decrease in the tone of the hippocampus, the brain center responsible for memory. So the best way to help yourself is to give up cake, lemonade, and an extra bar of milk chocolate. Add fish oil to the diet. Fish oil, despite the fact that it seems to many a very nasty product, is extremely useful. Fish oil contains omega-3 unsaturated fatty acids. They reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases, reduce fatigue and anxiety. But most importantly, they slow down the decline in mental abilities. Participants in one experiment consumed fish oil for a year, which led to an improvement in memory performance. Take time to meditate. Meditation, even if you do not believe in establishing a connection with the invisible cosmic mind, is a very useful tool for improving memory. You disconnect yourself from the flow of unnecessary information, close yourself off from stressful situations. This leads to calming, pain reduction, pressure reduction, and an increase in the amount of gray matter. To a greater extent, meditation affects the improvement of short-term memory. Watch your weight. In February 2022, scientists again proved that excess weight negatively affects a person's mental abilities. Obesity is associated with a decrease in mental acuity and memory, even without taking into account the effect on the functioning of brain vessels and its metabolism. It has been proven that obese volunteers coped with intelligence tests as if they were older than their skinny peers by about 3 years. Neurophysiologists are sure that excess weight contributes to the development of malfunctions in the circulatory system of the brain. It also leads to diabetes and other metabolic disorders, and also increases the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Get enough sleep. As we have already noted, lack of sleep can affect mental abilities and lead to memory problems. Moreover, this manifests itself even at an early age. Scientists conducted an experiment with 40 children from 10 to 14 years old. One group answered the test questions in the evening, and the second, after sleep, in the morning. As a result, the guys who got enough sleep coped with the test 20% better. An experiment with adults showed that night shift workers, such as nurses, do worse with memory testing than their colleagues who work during the day and sleep at night. Train mindfulness. Mindfulness is a fixation on a situation with a clear understanding of what you feel and what you are thinking. Mindfulness training is not equal to meditation, although the processes are somewhat similar. This process also leads to stress reduction, improved concentration, and memory. Mindfulness can be trained in many ways. The simplest is concentration on breathing. Watch how you inhale and exhale. You can also train mindfulness on the road. Set a goal for yourself. To notice 3 things on the way, for example, to look at a red light, to see a person in a green t-shirt, and to find through the eyes of a delivery service employee. This is what helps to improve memory. Drink less alcohol. Alcohol affects many aspects of health and destroys brain cells. It is, of course, about the abuse of alcoholic beverages. Once in the brain, ethanol begins to actively destroy nerve endings, which leads to problems with memorizing and reproducing information already received earlier. And again, let's turn to scientists. The study showed that students who abuse alcohol perform worse on tests than young people who have never drunk. Train your brain. Physical training is necessary to maintain the muscles in your body. And brain training is needed to improve memory. Crosswords, word games, logic games for a smartphone, puzzles are suitable. The study showed that even 15-minute brain training in logic games leads to an improvement in short-term and long-term memory, as well as concentration. Eat less refined carbohydrates. White rice, noodles, fast food, soda, and other dishes with refined carbohydrates can lead to cognitive decline. The simplest connection. Such products led to weight gain, and being overweight has a bad effect on memory, which we found out earlier. But there is another negative effect of refined carbohydrates. However, scientists do not fully understand the mechanism of their effect on the brain. It is believed that refined carbohydrates lead to a decrease in the level of docosahexaenoic acid, a molecule involved in the transmission of an interneuronal signal, the construction of membranes, and the suppression of an inflammatory response, the body's ability to respond to infection and damage to tissues, organs. The brain is more often sick, which leads to problems with remembering the right things. Check your vitamin D levels. Vitamin D is also called calciferol. It is divided into two active provitamins, ergocalciferol and cholecalciferol, D2 and D3, respectively. D3 is synthesized by the human body under the influence of sunlight, and D2 comes with food. Calciferol is involved in cell reproduction and normalization of metabolic processes. It strengthens the immune system, participates in the production of pancreatic insulin for the correct functioning of the gastrointestinal tract, suppresses the growth of tumor cells, and affects the nervous system, improving memory and attention. To check the level of vitamin D, you need to take a general blood test. With vitamin D deficiency, the analysis will show anemia, low phosphorus, calcium and magnesium content, high alkali content. Do physical education. Exercise often leads to an increase in the secretion of neuroprotective proteins, which leads to the growth and development of neurons. This has a beneficial effect on the brain, which was proved by a study involving people of different ages. 144 people aged 19 to 93 years engaged in physical exercise for only 15 minutes a day, and scientists recorded an improvement in the cognitive abilities of the subjects. Physical training is one of the simple answers to the question of how to improve memory quickly. Choose anti-inflammatory products. Anti-inflammatory foods are rich in antioxidants. They help to cleanse the system of toxins and harmful substances, which has a positive effect on human cognitive abilities. Anti-inflammatory foods are, for example, fresh fish such as tuna, salmon, mackerel, sardines, perch and anchovies, fresh and frozen without additives, fruits, including apples, apricots, bananas, grapes, melon, kiwi, oranges, papaya, pineapple, avocado. Get to know curcumin. Curcumin can also be called an anti-inflammatory substance. It is part of turmeric, which is considered a powerful antioxidant that minimizes oxidative damage and inflammation in the brain. Curcumin also reduces the amount of amyloid plaques that accumulate in neurons and cause cell and tissue death, as well as memory loss. Eat chocolate. Yes, we said that we need to reduce sugar consumption. But in limited quantities, scientists recommend eating dark chocolate. It is saturated with antioxidants flavonoids, which improve memory. It is recommended to use chocolate with a cocoa content of 70% or more. Create associations and visual images. Scientists recommend linking the known and the unknown, thereby creating associations and visual images. This will allow you to quickly remember new information and reproduce it at the right moment. The method may seem silly, but experts assure that it works. For example, if you put the keys on the table, imagine that you planted a flower in this place and it has already grown. You will connect the place where the keys lie with the visual image of a blooming flower and remember where you put this important item. If you remember numbers, also associate them with a visual image. 2 is a swan, 5 is a unicycle circus bike. Learn poetry and read aloud. Memorizing poems is a great way to train your memory. Start small. Small quatrains, 1 a week. Increase the volume. Break them into several parts. If they used to learn a quatrain in a week, now they learn 1 quatrain a day. The effect will be better if you teach, firstly, consciously, that is, understanding what the poem is about, what the author wanted to say. Secondly, it is advised to pay attention to poems that arouse less interest. Learning something that you like less is more difficult, but more useful for the mind. Try to remember the forgotten. If you forgot something, try to remember it, and do not climb for a hint at an opportunity. For example, you have compiled a list of products to buy. Leave it at home or don't open your smartphone with the recording as soon as you realize that you have definitely forgotten something. Strain your memory. Imagine a list. Remember how you wrote down and what. The same is true with the phone number, password and other information. It's better to try to remember than to look at the hint right away. Learn foreign languages. Learning a foreign language allows you to activate brain cells and expand memory capabilities. You don't have to do this professionally, it's enough to learn 2 to 3 words in another language a day. Over time, You can improve your knowledge or just engage in language learning as a brain activity training. This method can also be called a good prevention of diseases, such as Alzheimer's disease. Remember the events of the day. Before going to bed, it is recommended to remember what happened during the day. You can recall events, some dialogues that you conducted at work or with friends, refresh your memory of what you ate for breakfast or lunch, how delicious the food was. Present the pictures in as much detail as possible. If you get bored just lying there and remembering the events of the day, you can start keeping a diary. Write down in any form convenient for you what you saw during the day. Play mind games. Instead of an evening game of Brawl Stars, you can pay attention to the classics: chess, backgammon, Sudoku, puzzles, and even poker. It is recommended to switch attention. Don't play chess every day for a week. Today, puzzles. Tomorrow, classic crosswords, and the day after tomorrow, Japanese crosswords. This will help the brain learn to adapt to different situations and develop cognitive abilities. Change the usual route. There is nothing worse than living life to the 9-Inch Nails song. Every day is exactly the same. Go to work or study the same route, visit the same grocery store, and so on. Bring variety to your journey. Go to another Pyotorochka, make a small detour on the way to work. This way you will get new impressions, and new neural connections are activated in the brain. Additionally, pay attention to some features of the path. Road signs, signage, smells. Use attention enhancers. No, it's not about any substance. Try to turn memorization into some kind of interesting process. For example, if you are reading a book, imagine that you are an actor in a theater who is acting out a performance and reading a book by roles. If you play chess, imagine that you are a grandmaster in the finals of a major championship. This is called attention enhancement. Use different senses. When storing information, use different receptors. For example, when walking along a new route, use not only your eyesight, paying attention to what your path looks like. Use your hearing and senses. For example, you passed by a bakery and felt the smell of buns. If there are tram tracks nearby, then the sound of passing cars will allow you to complete the picture with new memories. Memorize in parts. Use the actor's method of memorizing large and complex information. Divide it into parts. This can be used both in work and in training your memory. We have already told you that you can train your memory by memorizing poems. Large ones can be divided into quatrains. Organize the information. When storing information, try to divide it into logical blocks. For example, if you are going to the store, do not write a list in a row. Divide groceries, vegetables, drinks, and other types of products. This will help you remember the list and learn how to work with information. Delve into the essence. You can't learn a poem or read a book without understanding exactly what the author wanted to say. Without understanding the essence, you will give the brain a signal that you are, frankly speaking, doing a useless thing for show. Therefore, the brain will not perceive new information and establish new neural connections. Therefore, do not offend your brain. Read any information, trying to understand what exactly is written. Make up stories. Make up silly stories mentioning information that you need to remember. For example, a monkey got on Bolshevik Street, found 20 rubles there and bought one ice cream. This will allow you to remember the address. Bolshevikov, 20, SQ. 1. It sounds silly, but it will help the brain to remember the information. The sillier the story, the easier it will be to remember it. Use the places method. Another rather funny, but working way of memorizing the necessary material. Let's go back to our favorite list of products. How do I remember to buy eggs, sausage, and cheese? Imagine that these products are scattered around your apartment. Write a list and imagine how the eggs are lying on the mat at the front door and you need to go carefully so as not to crush them. But the sausage forgot something on the game console. How did it get there? The cheese is in a pot with a flour at all. Rhyme. Rhymes are always easy to remember, which means it's a good way to train your memory. A hare came out on the porch. You thought and remembered that you need to go to the store for a dozen eggs. Repeat. Repetition is the mother of learning. You have written something important on the calendar that you need to remember. Say it out loud. The child's competition is December 19th. So the rhyme turned out, and at the same time the repetition of information. We turn into ambidextrous. An ambidextrous person is a person who has both hemispheres of the brain working equally well. If you are not an innate ambidextrous, that is, since childhood you do not know how to draw with both your right and left hand, then train these skills in yourself. Use your left hand to do the usual things if you are right-handed, and vice versa. That's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Best Videos and click on the bell so that you won't miss new interesting videos.